let's start with this question. So this question is one of those that, you know, they're asked at Google, maybe other companies, and it's typical of that. So the question is, and let me just make sure that I got it right, is a design question. So how would you design and launch, if we have time, a smart refrigerator for the next product line, right? Now, you know, when they ask you this question, we're going to take our time, but, you know, if we can, we should do it as fast as possible, because that's the way it actually happens in an interview. And there's a structure to it. So I want to go straight to the structure, so we don't start debating about the structure, and concentrate and focus on how to answer it. Is that okay with you guys?
Yeah.
Okay. Of course, if you have any input or comments about the structure that you think maybe something works better, please, you know, go ahead and let us know. But basically, this is a typical design question, right? So usually the way that you want to answer this is by starting with, well, let's put here, you know, how do you design a smart fridge for the next line, right? And so the way to do it effectively is by always start with, you know, what's the goal, right? So you should ask the interviewer, yeah, what's the goal of this? And if they throw it back at you and say, well, what do you think the goal is? Then you need to start thinking about it, right? What's the business goal? Why would Google do it? Okay, and then the next thing is, okay, so that's the goal. Then, you know, usually you want to define also the metric of success. Like usually there's a North Star metric, and that's really good when you bring it up front, because they are really so focused on metrics, right? Because product management is all about measuring whether you're doing well or not. So Google likes that, right? So this is your goal. How are you going to make sure that you're successful in this product? And then you want to ask also about constraints. Are there any constraints, you know, for this design? Maybe the constraints are, you know, we want to make it low cost. Maybe the constraints are, this is for a specific country, etc. But that's really very important, because that's, if you miss that, you may end up with a design that, you know, that is very hard to pin down. Okay, so you don't want to, you want to scope down your problem. So once you got the constraints, then you start thinking, okay, fine. Now here, you take a moment, okay? Take like 1 minute to think, right? And what you want to think, it's about who is your user, okay? And in terms of the user, when I say who is your user, think about, you know, the type of behavior. What does the user may want to do with your product? Okay, forget about demographics. Demographics don't help in this type of questions. Like, for example, oh, it's somebody that's 30, especially years, you know, 40 years old. That doesn't say anything about the behavior of this user with respect to this product. So when you're thinking about the user, think about behaviors. You know, think about motivations. And what really helps here is to think about extreme users. So always think about extreme users. Okay, and that means, you know, extreme users means go to the extreme. Who would use this the most, and who would use this the least, right? So, for example, for a watch, if you're making a watch, you know, a wearable watch that is for sports, who is your extreme user? Well, it's probably going to be an athlete, right? And who is not so much your extreme user? Well, maybe just somebody that's a hobbyist, right? So that really helps you in sort of thinking about the product. And why is this important? Because it helps you think about really interesting features. And then when you design for an extreme user, you can expand that later on for the general user, right? So, so let's do that. So you take a minute, you think about it, and now quickly, and then you say, okay, the users are this and such and such. So you say, okay, so these are the users. And you describe it. Then after you think about the users, think about the use cases. You pick a user, pick, your most important user, okay, and that you have to give reason, right, about why you're picking that user. Maybe it's the person that's going to use this product the most, okay, so that makes more sense. And then you go and start thinking about use cases for this user, okay, and then you listen. And then after you do that, then you start you say, okay, now I'm going to prioritize my use case. Maybe it's one, maybe it's two, but you shouldn't be prioritizing too many. And after you do that, now you say, okay, you take 1 minute to think about solutions. I usually end up, because we are pressured with time, I end up making the mistake that I start thinking about solutions and brainstorming, about solutions as I am talking. And that's usually not very good because you can confuse the interviewer, right? So it's important that you take a minute just to think how you're going to talk about your solutions to the interviewer to make it clear, right? Even if your brainstorming session is not going to be finished, at least you have some structure and say, you know what, I'm going to think a few solutions, but I want to think them in a brainstorming way. So let me start with this word. So at least you let the interviewer know what you're thinking. And then once you start, once you do your solutions, now prioritize your solutions. And I'm going to talk about the prioritization. But this part is important, prioritizing your use cases. They always want to see this. So what's the interviewing watching? The interviewing has a checklist. It's going to say, okay, does this person start with the goal? Okay, if you don't start with the goal, that's the end of the interview. Does this person think about how to measure the success of this product? Does this person, scope down the problem or strengths? Does this person, is this person empathic? Do they have user empathy, right? So are they describing the users in terms of their behaviors and motivations? Or do they just say, okay, just somebody that, is in the low income band, whatever. And then here they're going to start thinking, okay, is this person intuitive? Do they go into the use cases, right? Or do they jump? A lot of people start thinking about use cases and immediately jump up on solutions, usually engineers, right? Like me. So, and that's bad, right? So if you go into solutions without talking about use cases, that shows that you don't have empathy. And so, important use cases and then solutions. All right. So now comes the fun of it. All right, we're going to do this together. Any questions on this? No? All right.
Yeah, I got a quick question here.
Yeah.
Would you talk about the metrics just after the goal? Because my understanding is that when you define solution and you understand the customer journey, you tend to define metrics there as a last step.
Good question, right? So here I put the metric of success based on the goal, right?
Okay.
So let's say that they say, hey, our goal is actually to win over the competition in sales. Okay. So then you say, okay, so my metric of success is going to be market share. At the high level. But then when you're right, when you go into now your product, okay, let's say that you design a solution here, right? And they're going to say, okay, I want to also define metrics of success of this product based on the features, okay? So, because let's say that market share is your goal, right, at the business level, right? So this is a business goal, business metric, right? This is sort of like the product metric. So you define product metrics and say, okay, I need to track whether people are using this. So how many downloads, are they having? Are they, if it's subscription, how many subscriptions and growth and things like that, So that's quite right. You should also define metrics here.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So let's start. Let's start with this. Let's say that I'm the interviewer, and you guys are the interviewees. How do you start? You ask me what's the goal, right? And I tell you, hey, the goal is. I'm gonna tell you now. The goal is this is going to be a new product, for our line of smart kitchen, and we want to make sure that we sell a lot of them. So we want to have a good number of sales on this, good enough that we are confident, it's taking on, right? So sales and penetration in this area. All right, now you guys, somebody wants to start with this?
So I guess a metric for success would be number of new.
Sorry, Sarania?
Yeah.
Forgive me 1 second. I forgot something extremely important, which is clarifying questions.
Yes.
That is the very first thing. This is the most important thing, actually. If you miss anything, don't miss this. Clarifying questions. So let's start with clarifying questions, okay? Because as Sarani was talking, I was thinking, okay, this is too big of a, the scope is not narrow. So what clarifying questions would you ask?
So one clarifying.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I would just ask, like, what is a smart fridge to you? Or I would give them a definition of what I think is a smart fridge. Second thing is, I would say, like, why the Nest line? Like, is there something specific about the Nest line that we want to include this in? Yeah, that's all.
Any questions? Any other questions you guys have?
I guess one question that I would ask after these two questions is, are we thinking about this fridge for commercial use versus for something like in a home setting?
Commercial or consumer. Okay.
And also
I think
targeting existing customers.
I'm sorry?
Targeting existing Nest customers.
Who is the target?
Which determines like an interop and so forth, right?
Who's the target market? Okay.
And I think also, are we focused on the US? Are we focused kind of globally?
Region? What else?
I mean, are we looking at this as a premium product or a low-cost product?
Yeah. Okay, what else? Okay, all very good questions. So let's go and start answering this, okay?
Okay, sorry, there's one more thing. I think because we said launch also, do we also need to keep in mind the timeline? Like, are they trying to do this in the next 1 year, next, like that?
What's the timeline? Timeline for launch. Great questions. So let's start here, okay? Smart fridge, I'm going to pretend I'm the interviewer. Well, smart fridge, for us means a refrigerator that is basically connected to the rest of, it's in the network, okay? So it's smart. And when we say smart, it has, it's sort of like the refrigerator has intelligence, right? So it's sort of, it has intelligence. And because it has intelligence, it can make decisions. It's like it has an intelligent agent inside. Okay? Intelligent. And perhaps it can make use of data, like anything that is smart, right? Maybe uses data.
It can provide you probably information.
Yeah, data to provide information or make decisions. Okay. Anything that's related to using data and provide information decisions. Not only that, a smart fridge also means making the life of the user better, right? In like maybe simplifying life, right? Simplifying life because the device has a way to predict what you want, right? Has a way to know what you want. That's what smart means, right? Okay, so let's go to why the Nest line. Good question. And Himanshu, you're thinking, okay, why put this on Nest? Why not put it on Google?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, is there like a synergy with Nest? Is this like a product line extension of Nest? Just like clarifying like why.
And I will throw it back at you. I will say, hey, Himanshu, why do you think we want to put it on the Nest line?
Yeah, I think there are some good capabilities with Nest. Like they already have a good smart, thermostat for the home. They have a range of device. They have the capability here, and I think to me, this looks like a product line extension for Nest. So yeah, there's natural synergy there.
Yeah. So that's right. So if you already had an answer in your head, because that was your hypothesis, then maybe a good way to say it is like, okay, just to make sure, I think that this is the reason why you want to put it in the Nest line, because it seems like a natural thing to do. Or another way is like, do you want to expand the line? This is a new product line, which they already told you, right? But, because the opposite, I don't know, like not put it on the Nest line wouldn't make sense to me. I mean, don't you think?
I think you're right. I think I was just trying to clarify, like, because my next question would be like, is this like a hardware that Google wants to own, or is it just like a service that Google would collaborate with or partner with somebody?
Good point. That's an excellent point. Actually, that should have been one of the ones. Does this like an OEM plus Google?
Exactly.
Right?
So basically, like, I mean, from a Microsoft standpoint, like, are we trying to design the hardware, or are we just trying to design the software that will run on the hardware? So that's like a big difference in the design.
I think that's a great question, and probably it's best to put it that way, Himanshu.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, great. And so I think that I would throw it back at you, and I say, what do you think is best for us to do, Himanshu?
Yeah, I think we are currently in the services business. Like Google's core strength is in the services business. Yes, we are making forays in the phone with Pixel, and Nest Line is an extension. So I think that's the critical point here. Like, if you want to see this as a product line extension for Nest, then I think we should go and build the hardware and the software, and have one, product come out with Google branding, whatnot. But if you want to just stay with your strengths, with Google services, search, and other things, or like with our AI, then I mean, we have strengths there as well.
What would be your recommendation?
I think at this point, my recommendation would be go with the services route. I mean, go with where your strength is. You have a great AI. See this as a partnership. Like Amazon, Alexa is doing partnership with a whole bunch of appliances. Like, see this as a natural partnership with a host of appliances, but don't get into the appliance business yourself. Like, the appliances have been around for 100 years. Like, you'll be competing with GE and everybody out there.
Exactly. And I think one of the main reasons also would be, look, you have to worry about maintenance, about returns, about, service, about...
Yeah, that's just not core. Yeah, just not core to what Google does.
Okay, good. So the answer is going to be, it's going to be an OEM type of business. They provide the service. They provide the smart intelligence, right? The software, so to speak. All right. Now let's go into commercial or consumer. All right. Let's say that I start by saying, let's focus on consumer, because that is the space where we're having the most of the ecosystem of the Nest line. Okay. So let's say it's consumer. Now, target market here. We sort of say already, if it's consumer, the target market is going to be consumers. Right? So it's going to be for the home. Okay. How about region? This is kind of like...
So Milena, can we narrow down the target market more? or should we not attempt to do that yet? In the sense, it's probably, I mean, this is probably the consumer that is maybe internet savvy to some extent.
Yeah,
right?
we're gonna go that
Okay.
later. Sort of at like the high level,
Got it.
like big markets, right? Because between commercial and consumer is big. And remember, you're asking this to the interviewer, right? So the interviewer is not going to tell you who the user is. So they're going to tell you, oh yes, for consumer use. Okay. The region naturally, I think, has to be the U.S. Because only Western countries in the U.S. actually have the infrastructure to do this, and also people have the money. How about low cost or premium? All right, let's say that we go into, it's neither low cost, no premium. I would say it's going to be mid-range. And the reason why I say that, I think it's because the people that are, well, I don't want to go into those details, but let's say that I say it's mid-range. We don't want to make it too expensive, but undoubtedly there's going to be a lot of costs. There's going to be some costs higher than the normal refrigerators today in order to build something that's smart. Okay, so it's going to be probably mid-range. Okay, so timeline for launch. Let's say that we have 1 year. And okay, so this is the context, okay? So the context is we have a smart refrigerator, it's an intelligent agent inside, it's an extension to Nestline, it's for the consumer use, it's mid-range price, and we have to make it in 1 year. Okay, with that in mind, then we go now into the goals, right? So for the goal we set, it's like, okay, penetration in the market. We want to set these, basically sales, lots of sales. What's your metric of success? Okay, what do you guys think is the metric of success?
Yeah, I think one could be a pure, revenue number or like units sold. The other could be, you could have like a percentage metric, which is like percentage of US households adopting, your appliance versus somebody else. Like, if 80% of households have a refrigerator and you're able to get penetration of 5%.
That's a very good one, right?
Yeah.
But that definitely gives you an idea of penetration. So I would say percentage of households adopting.
Yep.
So because this is tied to the Nest line, I think another metric would be how many Nest users have or are using the smart refrigerator, right? Because it's not a standalone product, it's an extension of the Nest line.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Also some good metrics. All right, and then you go quickly into, let's go into the constraints. So you say, okay, what are the constraints? And I'm gonna say, the constraints for us is that you make it in 1 year, shouldn't take longer than that, okay? And let's say that it cannot cost more than, twice an average refrigerator, okay? Let's say that it costs, the maximum it can cost is maybe 1.5 price of average. Okay. So, okay, so now, take a minute and think about who the users can be. I'm gonna make a photo of this first. All right.
Yeah, in terms of potential users, I was thinking, very tech savvy or tech forward individuals or busy professionals, like as the first category, who I think will use this product a ton, and they already have high adoption of these other smart devices.
Yeah.
I think we can segment that a little more. I think just alluding to the previous point, like people who are already using, say, Alexa or other smart home devices, or using the Nest ecosystem, like that could be a great, segment of people who I think would see this as like, wow, okay, so now I have my Nest, it connects to the smart fridge. So I think that would be my preference to start there.
Yeah. So I agree. I would think I would put this in the let me see, in the tech savvy. Yeah, you're right. Tech savvy professionals, and perhaps here already, Nest users, right?
Yes, Nest users,
Or
even more generally, smart device users.
so Nest users one category. Yeah, you're right. Smart device. I would say the people, what I put here in the extreme users, I would put home automation junkies.
Yeah, exactly. Home automation junkies. Yeah, I think that's a good use case.
Okay.
Or user set.
The other ones that you're saying are just normal people. maybe I put here new homeowners.
Yeah, new homeowners. I think that's a good category.
That are not obsessed, but it's an opportunity to, new homeowners that are techie.
Yeah, new homeowners that are techie.
Right. So
another
one.
Yeah, go ahead.
One target user category I can think of are the elderly people who can benefit from the intelligence that a smart fridge provides. So the difference here is they may not be the buyers of the smart fridge. Maybe their kids buy it or whatever. It's in their house to aid their life and simplify their life. That may be a separate category, isn't it? I mean, they may not be the tech savvy professionals, but they are coerced to have it because it will help simplify their life.
Yeah. So what you're saying is like, the family of people that are, elderly and that probably are more concerned about it and would like them to have this. Okay. Okay, that's another segment.
And I guess on similar vein, right, we can also say the kids, like going back to the example where the buyer would be someone tech savvy who has a family, and if they have young kids, so they are also most likely to adapt and use this.
I'm sorry, who were you saying?
So the kids, again, similar to elderly parents, it could be the kids also in the house, because again, the buying decision would be with someone who is more tech savvy, but if they have a family, you can assume kids also using it.
Yeah, well, yes. And I think that's, well, I don't know how it is in the United States. I don't see too many families living with their parents, right? It's different than in other countries. So, and I think that's probably implied here, right? So I don't see that as a different type of user.
I think another one could be, I think, broadening what he just said. I think it's just people with families, right?
People with families. Okay. Yeah. All right. So that's what I was talking about before. So when you think about users, right? It's important to think about the segmentation. This segmentation is not going to help you really with thinking about what features do these people would care about that are high tech, right? Because this is too general, right? People with families. So whereas the home automation junkie, that gives you an idea. Because this home automation junkie wants to see something that is probably like, from Total Recall, something out of this world. Just because, what do they care about? These people care about tech and probably showing off. They care about that tech. That's their goal. These people with families, here you're stranded. Because what's the goal?
Well, I think they did. The reason why I said that is because I think they might have some functional uses from a smart fridge much more than some of the other groups, right? I don't want to go into solutions, but I could think of like, they probably care about more like, I don't want rotten food I don't want to be feeding that to my kids. I want to know, when I should go to Costco, when I should go to Trader Joe's and things like that.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. The key question here is, would they pay for the technology? Are they so into technology that they would pay for a refrigerator that tells them that?
Right. Yeah. So I think it might be not under tech savvy professional. It might be kind of its own category.
And I sort of agree with Sharanya, right? I think if you are able to bring like intelligence for power users of refrigerators, forget smart refrigerators, right? Just think about it being just refrigerators in general. Families tend to use refrigerators much more than working professionals or automation junkies. So if you're using machine learning or AI to solve that problem and make it simple enough that they don't have to be tech savvy, I think that widens your market. Because you're trying to build for a very niche market if you just do automation junkies, tech savvy professionals, right?
So imagine, right? So this is part of an ecosystem, right? The smart refrigerator is not going to be in a house that does not, imagine, it's probably not going to be in a house that doesn't have a Nest thermostat. It's not probably going to be in a house that doesn't already have, Google Home or Alexa. It's not going to be in a house that doesn't have the lights that are controlled already by Nest. Unlikely that a family would buy a refrigerator, a smart refrigerator, when they don't have the other ecosystem. I mean, what are your thoughts? I find it unlikely.
Well, I actually think the families have Nest, Google Homes and Alexa and things like that.
I'm sorry?
I actually think a lot of families actually buy Google Home and Alexa and things like that. So I'm not sure why the assumption is that they don't have Nest.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think like
Okay.
like Google Homes are a different product line. They're more consumer free. Like you can buy a Google Home for $25 and that's still affordable. Getting a Nest and ecosystem is maybe the other part of it.
Because I mean, all right, let's leave it here and see what happens. I just find it, really hard to believe that a family would care for a refrigerator that speaks to them, or they would go for it. Okay, let's leave it there.
One crazy category, just to see if it fits, is like people in the South. People in the South using a lot more refrigeration need than people in the North part of America, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just thinking, like, I mean, if you're in Florida, if you're in Texas, you need refrigeration a lot more. So maybe they have more smarter needs. I'm just like building on the point, like, I mean, if from one of the person in the group is like people who need refrigeration a lot. Like maybe they need more smartness because they have needs that are being
What does it mean that you need more refrigeration?
in the sense that I think the point earlier was that people who are families, they use the refrigerator a lot more than some of these other categories. So I'm just building on that and saying, well, there may be people in US who have a much hotter, weather, and they use refrigeration a lot more. So for them, refrigeration is a key part of their daily lives, and if they don't get it, it's a problem. And I'm saying, like, if we can make...
Let's put that there, but I find that weird because
It is weird.
A refrigerator is a refrigerator, so I don't see why me living in the South will force me to use the refrigerator more than if I'm in San Francisco.
Yes, yes, yes. I agree. I mean, I was just trying to see whether that even fits.
I mean, we can put that there, but you have to find use cases.
Yes, yes.
So one category I can think of is maybe people who travel a lot, because maybe they want to check into their fridge from their remote, wherever they are, to see, okay, I'm returning tomorrow. Is something if something spoiled, do I need to buy something? I don't know. Maybe, remote travelers.
Right.
So is that like the busy professional, right? I mean, you can maybe club it under that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Professional need not be the one who's
I think that's
remote.
a use case that is not really a user. It's a use case when you travel, and But okay, so let's move on to use cases. Okay, so let's say that okay, so we need to pick here. We need to pick here the user that is going to want to have a need to have a refrigerator that is smart. So imagine a refrigerator that talks to you, that is connected to the network, that you can access probably with your phone. Okay, so let's go with you guys tell me, which one do you think is the most likely?
Home automation junkie.
I want to be devil's advocate here. Let's go with people with families. Okay, to see where that leads us. Because a lot of you wanted, thought that this was a good user. Let's get this user. Okay, so let's talk about use cases. What are use cases with people with families that would need something smart?
I think they need replenishment, understanding replenishment of things in the fridge.
Replenishment. Hold on. Okay, replenishment. What else?
Maybe recipes based on what is available in the refrigerator.
No, that's a good point.
Yeah, that's not a family. That's everybody's use case, right?
But families tend to do more meal planning than professionals, right?
So meal planning, that could be another word.
I'm sorry?
Meal
planning.
I'm sorry?
Meal planning.
Meal.
MAL.
Meal planning, okay.
I think the other
I
use
would say
cases, they have
also,
multiple users of this fridge. So there may be more than one person who interacts with this fridge. So there may be multiple personalities, and so I think that's a use case.
But why is that a use case?
No, I'm saying, like, I mean, this smart fridge would then have to handle, like, who to allow access to the fridge, and be able to talk to different people with the fridge, if that's what you're
But I think that you're thinking of a solution without a key.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
I would say also energy conservation.
I will starve my kids. Okay. Yeah, who was talking?
I was going to say energy conservation. So, like, the Nest helps you save. It switches off when you leave.
Okay. What else?
One more can be keeping foods fresh in terms of automatically controlling temperature or the environment inside.
But that's what a refrigerator does anyways, right? Why is this a smart thing?
I mean, auto control. If for example, if you're living in a place where it's humid, probably you want to automatically reduce or increase temperature. I mean, based on the climate or based on the daily changes in climate. I mean, just a thought.
Yeah, I think that use case is already dealt with current refrigerators. Otherwise, what's the point of having the refrigerator?
I think I would modify that a little bit and say maybe it's adjustment of temperature based on the occupancy of the fridge. If you had to put it on. So, like, if there are more items, I don't know, you use lesser. It's probably under conserve energy, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's under conserve. This is like optimization. Optimization of temperature. Temperature adjustment. Okay.
One other use case I could think of is just from the data that is collected that you could do budgeting.
You can do what?
So
you can do what?
Budgeting, like monthly budgeting of your groceries.
Budgeting of your
like,
groceries.
Creating budgets, yeah.
How's that related to the refrigerator though?
Because you get the data on things that spoil and you can save money from that, right? Because you're not buying stuff, you're buying it just in time, so it's not sitting there and
well, I think it will go into
spoiling.
replenishment, right?
I think, Milena, one I was thinking is like maintaining your health. Like if you have any health goals for yourself or for your family, maybe it goes under meal planning, but like helping you track and build towards your health goals.
Yeah, I think I would put that here, meal planning.
Yep, yep.
Healthy living. Okay.
Another thing is maybe based on replenishment, provide best price available. Maybe you can link commerce into it.
Yeah, you're talking about solutions now, so we'll move it.
Yeah.
So I can think of one use case of some kind of an indication when the food is done. What I meant by that is, custard, for instance, doesn't need to be frozen solid, whereas something else needs. And normally what we do today is you go, you take a fork, you poke, you check. Whereas if there's an indication, if you can say custard, it tells you done, and it is done to the right extent. So some indication, mapping to the food and how much it needs to be done. You see what I'm saying?
Like cooked, like chilling, right? Probably.
Yeah, like, if it's something that needs to be frozen to ice consistency versus custard is just, semi-solid versus something else that needs to be in between. So if you say custard, done means semi-solid, not ice, right?
What is custard? Sorry.
I think you call it jelly in the US. I don't know. Jelly is another example, right? You don't want jelly to be icy. You want jelly to be in the jello state. So if you say jelly and fridge tell me when it's done, it tells you at the right time and keeps it at that. I don't know how to.
I actually think that maybe a way to put it here would be to, sort of smart, you say smart, how the refrigerator, there are different levels where you put food, right? And so things that are on top usually get colder than things that are below, right? So so usually what you put below, right? Like I wouldn't put my strawberries on the top level because it gets frozen, right? The next day.
So
I put the fruit at the lowest level.
You mean climate zones, like within the fridge?
Like climate zones, right? So I would say smart adjustment of temperature based on zones. Let's call it that way.
Hey, Milena, none of these use cases look like they're for family. They could be for anybody, right?
Exactly. They could be for anybody.
Yeah, I think that's the problem we guys get into.
Hey, Milena.
But it's okay.
Yeah.
So number 5, how does that not sound like a solution? Because to me, that sounds like a potential solution. Say,
yeah, totally. You're right, Amy.
To conserve energy or to
put it in a different way.
Meal plan, yeah.
Here, how would we maintain produce or food produce at right consistency? Okay.
I think one other thing that I can think of, which might be partly specific to families, would be when I look at fridges in homes with families, it's like you put calendars, you put magnets, you put all those things.
space for space for notes or reminders.
Invitation, something like that.
Like a cat.
Right.
One thing that I could think of was, so how often we run into a situation when we are in grocery store or shopping and we are thinking, oh, was this in my fridge or not, or do I really need it? So maybe some way that even if we are remote, we can.
Right. This is right here.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I couldn't see it. My bad.
No, that's good.
I almost wonder if we need to build like a smart cleaning feature, like how refrigerators just get stocked with stuff. But I mean, it's not specific. I mean, I could argue that it could be for families because families use refrigerators more. They tend to get more dirtier than working professionals.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
cleaning.
you're cleaning about a solution.
Yeah.
So don't think about solutions. Think
Right.
about use cases. Do people need to know whether a refrigerator is dirty? Do you think that's a use case? Wouldn't you just open your refrigerator and clean it? I mean, just
Right. Sure.
okay. Let's see what else. All right. So we have a lot of these things. Now let's think quickly about which of these use cases you think would be most important to somebody that wants a smart refrigerator.
I would
Number
think
one.
replacement would be number one, right?
Yeah, number one.
Number one. Okay, so let's think about prioritization. We're going to prioritize based on. Okay, usually the way I like to prioritize is, impact on user goal. And then also how frequent that use case is. But, I don't know what's the goal of these people with families. What would be the goal of having a smart refrigerator? What do you think is the goal?
Making the lives
Making the lives minimizing time. What the simple?
Yeah, minimizing the time spent on
Minimize time or enable opening more time, right? Minimize time or doing tasks.
Convenience.
Yeah, convenience.
Okay. All right. So based on that, so that's the user goal. Convenience, having tasks done for them. So replenishment means, here we can think of different use cases actually for replenishment, right? So what should I buy? What can I buy? What else? What else does replenishment mean?
When to buy.
Hmm?
When to buy.
When? Mm-hmm. Right? What should I buy? When to buy? Okay.
How much to quantity?
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
The quantity to buy.
Quantity.
Yeah, that goes back to someone said, if data shows me that I've bought something and it repeatedly ended up getting spoiled, then maybe how much helps to tone down how much I'm buying, right?
Yeah, that goes into solution. And okay, so this is impact on the user goal. Replenishment has a high impact. Okay, frequency it's very frequent, right? So we always have to buy stuff. Okay, what's available in the refrigerator? I think this is part of this.
Yep.
Meal planning. I don't think that's as relevant as replenishing your refrigerator. How about conserving energy? Is that as important?
Meal planning is fairly relevant because to a family, if the refrigerator could give you quick tips on ABC is in the refrigerator and this you can do this.
That as important as replenishing your refrigerator?
Maybe not. That could be the first prior, but I think meal planning is extremely important. Think about maybe the mother that comes in after work.
Yeah, but we're prioritizing. So I'm not saying that it's not important. It is important, but is it as important as replenishment?
No. I think replenishment is number one. I agree with that.
Yeah, because what happens is in the interview, you don't have time to do too much in detail. So we're just like relative comparison, right?
Got it.
Okay. Conserving energy, is this important?
No, I don't think so.
Very good. Okay. How would maintaining the consistency of the produce, probably not. I care more about replenishment, it saves me time. Space for notes. That's a good to have, right?
Yeah, it's a good to have. It's like a vitamin.
So we're gonna focus on this, right? Replenishment.
Yep.
Okay, so let's think about solutions. How are you gonna solve this problem? Okay, so here we really have to spell out the use cases. What should I buy? Let's solve that problem first.
So maybe it sends you an email saying, maybe it sends an email or, I don't know, a text message or something, I don't know.
But it needs to detect first that it needs to be replenished, right? So
Hey, Malena, one way is like look at your Amazon Prime past purchase list
yeah,
to get an idea of what are the items that you purchased in the past
yeah,
and what is the frequency,
yeah.
and try to use that as a benchmark to do the replenishment of your fridge.
Yeah, but you can do that with an app, right? If you're selling a smart refrigerator, you want to sell the hardware, this device, right? So that it saves you time. So that wouldn't sell. It's like, hey, no. I think it has to be something much smarter than that, right?
Okay, then maybe it can sense what's in the refrigerator and kind of like.
Yeah. So right. So maybe it has cameras inside.
Yeah, it can have cameras and it can connect with a companion app.
Yeah. Compliant plus app, and then plus your orders as Amazon or whatever, right?
Yeah, that's where the e-commerce thing I was mentioning earlier could come into play.
Online purchases, and then
Like an art.
automatically buy, right? Buy for you. So that solves everything, right? You put cameras inside, takes a picture, compares with what you usually buy, and it orders immediately for you, right? Based on what you need.
I was also thinking maybe something related to expiry, because sometimes quite often we end up buying stuff, but then we realize that it has already expired. So maybe for replenishment, we can also track if the food has expired. So from a solution perspective, it will be a little work from the user, but let's say if I'm purchasing a milk or a bread, I can potentially tap in or just input, okay, what is the expiry date, so that next time I go shopping, I can look whether, even if the content or even if the thing is available in the refrigerator, I still need to buy it.
Yeah, so you're saying manually enter expiration date.
And I think on the same note, it's also sensing kind of with like perishables when they're going bad. So, are they changing colors?
Sensors that sense perishables inside the refrigerator.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. What else? So when to buy, that's also solved here. And quantity, yeah. This solution solves everything. Okay, let's stop there and say, okay, of these three solutions, which ones are we going to build first? Okay, this is the camera solution, this is the sensor solution, no, this is the expiration solution, enter manually, and this is the sensor solution. So we have to prioritize, right? In this case. So how we're going to prioritize? I would say, I would look at cost, right? And I would look also at time. Can we do this in 1 year? And I would look at impact to the business. Impact to business, which means will the user buy this thing? Okay, so we put cameras inside. It's solving a real problem, right? We have these cameras inside, buying the stuff when I need it. Well, it saves me a lot of time, right? 'Cause I tell you, I spend a lot of time in the grocery store. That would be great, right? And what do you think about the cost? So, let's think of put here one. One is high on impact. How about the cost? Cost, I think, would be really high, right? Because you have to have cameras, you have to do image recognition, send it to the cloud for all these products, and then it has to connect to, to where you buy, your data, and inventory in the stores. That's high cost. I would say the cost is high. And the time to make, I think it would be high. I don't know if that this can be made in 1 year. I actually think it's not feasible in 1 year. How about two? You enter manually the expiration date. Is it valuable? Is high value to the user? I think it goes contrary to saving me time, right?
I guess from impact to business, it would be medium because again, we are talking about smart refrigerator, but if it is more of manual effort from users, so it may not leave the best user experience per se.
It would be low because you don't want to do anything manually, right?
Yeah. Although from a cost perspective and a time perspective, it will be, I would say, relatively less compared to our first solution.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. How about the third one? Sensors, the sensors, and let you know. That is valuable, I would say. It's medium, not as valuable as the first one. First one saves you more time. And in terms of cost, it's probably medium. It's not as costly as the other ones. But have sensors though. And in time, it's probably less time than this one and the first one. I would say medium. So how do we select here? Well, definitely, I will go high is important, right? High for the business. But here the cost is high and the time is high. I don't think this is feasible actually. So I will go for the medium, right? High impact. And these costs are medium, time medium. That's okay, right? We can charge 1.5 the price of another refrigerator. But I always put a lot more weight on, the impact. What do you think?
So one quick question. So because we are talking about impact, right? So maybe can we think about maybe toning down our first feature, which although the impact is high, but maybe not deliver everything. But I'm thinking in lines of MVP. So maybe tone down the requirements. Maybe just start with a camera which allows you to monitor remotely via the app, and the shopping part could be maybe not integrated right now, but at least it is still helpful to the user in the sense that they at least can make better decision.
Yeah, that's definitely, you can think about it or talk about it in terms of what are the trade-offs, right? So maybe we don't do everything. Maybe we just have one camera, right? And maybe that actually helps show, the impact, right? That this can have. Definitely good topic of conversation for that, right? And how do you decide, right? I'll probably go with what you're saying because it has such high impact, right? And that's really at the end what you care the most about, right? It will have high impact, but it lowers the time, right? And the cost.
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes sense to me, right? What do you guys think?
Yeah, that can lead into like a roadmap type discussion too.
Right, that can lead into a roadmap discussion. Now, I'll tell you one thing though. Do you guys think this is feasible in a year? Let's say you are you are the product manager of this thing, and you think that you can sell this for 1.5 of average cost of a refrigerator.
So right now the Samsungs, they're close to like a really high end, close to $4,000.
$4,000 refrigerator.
Yep. They're really high end. They have cameras. They have screens on the refrigerators.
The Samsung makes a refrigerator that with
Yep.
cameras inside.
Inside, yeah.
Wow, and they go for $4,000.
Yep.
Yeah, even LG have a few solutions in the market in the range of $3,000, if I remember correctly.
They already sell it then.
Yeah.
Got it. And Pandu, what do they do with the cameras inside? Are they doing this kind of?
Yeah, something like this. They tell you what's in there, and you can see it from the app.
Yeah, well, that's pretty good. Then I'm wrong. Then this is doable.
Yeah, but as someone was mentioning, you can start small, and then it's up to the OEMs to determine how much cost they want to incur.
Yeah. What else do these refrigerators have besides that? You know?
On the screen, like recipes and calendars, all the usual stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That would have been my next choice, which is put a lot of, because this is what people are used to, right? That's easy to do.
Yep. So you can connect to Google Drive or Google Photos.
Right. And also, do they have an assistant?
Yeah, assistant is the easy part, I think.
Cool. Okay, so we sort of like went through the process of probably what those people went to when designing a smart refrigerator, right?
Yeah.
But it's not original enough to compete, right? It's not original enough. That's the problem. Okay. Next thing is to think about something more original than this.
So in the clarification part, should you also ask what other things they considered, or is it too much of a side? In the very beginning?
Yeah. What do you mean? What other things they consider?
What other line extensions are they considering, or is it like at the very beginning when you start off?
Yeah. No. This question is actually to see whether you can actually think of that.
Right.
So they're not going to give you the answer because they want to see if you can think of that. Right. So yeah, so the key is to think about something that it's more original than this. I don't know what that is. I will have to think about that. But here's the process. I don't think that,
Yeah.
I don't think that this is bad.
Yep. Pretty good.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you for participating.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.